The James Show Podcast.
Jake Tapper is continuing his revisionist history tour because his book, Original Sin, has an impossible task. He's supposed to reframe history. And I say history, this is stuff that was 11 months ago. He's supposed to reframe and rewrite what you clearly remember from last year. And so the revision is afoot, but I don't think it's going to stick. One of the interesting things about this Jake Tapper book is he has to admit that the media was duped, but he can't admit that he was duped, right? That he can't at the same time say, oh, I'm wholly inadequate as a reporter, but you got to trust me on all these other things. Actually, that is what he's trying. Can you believe that? Yes, everyone was duped. That's what it was. Now, all these other people who saw with their own eyes what was really going on, and they were making these diagnoses, and I was mocking them and trying to run them out of polite society. Just ignore all that. Don't believe it. But Jake Tapper was asked for his thoughts on this new Democrat initiative. Forget his book. He was asked about the new SAM, the strategically reaching out to males, whatever it's called. And they're trying to understand, they're trying to get a grasp on why men have been departing the Democrat Party. And look, they haven't had white men for a long time. Straight white men, the most Republican demographic possible. But Hispanic men are now a slight majority in favor of Team Red. And Donald Trump just won the largest share of the black vote since you've been alive. So let's check this out. How would Jake Tapper, who's teetering on the verge of gaslighting and the truth, how would he address this issue on why they're doing so bad? Can he admit the truth on this one? Well, you're going to like this because it's crazy, but it's half right. Jake Tapper.
My son is now 15 years old, and he's a gamer. He's a football fan, starting linebacker on his varsity football team. The Democratic Party has no way of communicating with him. They have no entree into his world. And in fact, it's interesting.
Well, first of all, I'd like to pause that. You have no entree into the world of a white kid who's 15 who plays linebacker at his high school. You don't have every popular music artist towing the line. You don't have Taylor Swift out there. You don't have racism in the end zone when we have to watch the football games. It takes all of us. You don't have them with the same messages on the back of their helmets. Oh, yeah, they never get through. The pop culture never gets through to a 15-year-old. How about every Netflix show with a political bias? How about Handmaid's Tale? How about all the TV shows that has the T of the LBGT in them? Like there's 19 of them on Netflix right now. How many of them have the D transition? Oh, 0. Oh, yeah. You're kidding yourself if you think he's not being flooded with Team Blue propaganda at all times. He's just rejecting it. He's going to see all the parades that are going to happen next month, and he's not going to hate it. He's going to be indifferent to it, but he's also going to recognize they don't do that for me. There's no month for me. There's no day for me. There's no parade for me. There's no organizations for me. There's no scholarships for me. There's no hiring program, no recruiting program for me. No. You're getting through. He's just rejecting the message. Anyway, I'll let Jake Tapper continue.
And on a left-leaning podcast that shall remain nameless, and we were talking about my kids, because I think they were both people without kids. And they asked me about my son, and I said he was... he's a football player and he wants to be a policeman. And their joke was about my 15-year-old son. Oh, how does he feel about minorities? Like the idea that he wants to be a policeman, therefore he's racist, my son. And that was the big laugh. And then I got dragged in the comments and all that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is why you are losing elections. Like my football playing son who has no political views. He's 15. He thinks about World War II and gaming and playing linebacker. That's his world. You're deciding he's a racist because he wants to be a cop. And why does he want to be a cop? He wants to be a cop because he wants to help people, and he thinks that's the best way he can help people. And that's how the Democratic Party talks to men.
Okay, so that second half was right. Kudos to Jake Tapper. who can repeat truth when it hits them upside the head, but still miss the point overall. Here's a little hint here. If you want males to stop avoiding the Democrat Party, stop running away from the Democrat Party, say one nice thing about us. Start there. Sad news. You may have heard Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty has passed away. He's the patriarch of that clan. And Phil Robertson's legacy is a lot bigger than it's going to get credit for because it doesn't help the narrative. They don't want to remind you of this guy because he was a dude who you weren't supposed to like. I don't know if you realize this, but when Duck Dynasty first came out and you saw the way that they made the promos and the commercials and the little clips that they would play for you, I think the bigwig TV execs from their little ivory towers, from their little bubbles, thought that they were putting forth this family, this big bunch of bearded, camoed up backwoods hicks. And I think they thought you were going to mock them because they do. They didn't fall in love with the Robertson clan. The Robertson clan is indicative of the flyover country type people that they ridicule at their cocktail parties or at their Met galas or at their brunches where they pay $32 for an omelet and drink with their pinky sticking out. You were supposed to mock them. This was supposed to be a mockery of you, of hunting, of camo, of living in the rural parts of America, of being an overt and outspoken Christian. That's what they thought. And that's even what they thought when they put it together and they made the promos for it. It was like All in the Family. You were supposed to hate Archie Bunker. He was supposed to be the archetype of your dad who says these dumb conservative things and doesn't know what's really going on in the world. And luckily there's some younger college educated people there to set him straight. Well, you were siding with Archie over Meathead. That wasn't the blueprint. And they accidentally made a powerful case against the narrative because they're so blinded by their condescension, by their snark, by their sneering. You weren't supposed to fall in love with Phil Robertson. He wasn't supposed to be someone that you would get wisdom from. You were supposed to mock him. But it didn't work. See, the problem is you don't think guns are scary. You don't think Christians are some fringe kooks who believe in fantasy. You don't think hunting is animal cruelty. You don't think living in the country is being disconnected from the real world. You think the opposite. When you live out in nature, you are in the real world. It's this bubble where I'm in here in the 5th floor and my perfect climate controlled with my fake lighting coming from a blinky fluorescent tube over here. I don't even touch dirt. You realize, like, if I wore the same pair of shoes to work and only work, they would never get dirty. Because when I walk to lunch, I don't walk over dirt or grass. I'm down here in downtown Dallas. Everywhere I walk, there's concrete, if not marble. But that's the real world, and you know it. Hunting, not only is it not an abomination to civilization, it's the way all human beings survived for all of human history up until about 100 years ago. This idea that you run around in camo, well, that's not cool to them. You're supposed to be overpaying $300 for a pair of Gucci slides or $4,000 for a Dooney bag or Fendi or, I don't know, Prada, Yves Saint Laurent, whatever they rap about, right? It was the opposite, and they had no idea. And so Phil Robertson got a chance to take that media attention and do some real good with it. He got kind of political, and it was all in your favor. He was very outspoken for Jesus. And with full, humility, hey, I partied too much when I was in my 20s. I made a lot of bad decisions, same bad decisions a lot of people make when they're younger. And it was Jesus that pulled me out of it. It was Jesus that pulled me out of my, fast women and drugs and drinking. That saved him. And just other people hearing that story pushed them in the right direction. You know how many people this guy probably saved? You know how many people stopped being self-conscious and thinking they're not cool because they wear camo and have a beard and go hunting and go to church, and there was actually a representative of them on TV? Because Phil Robertson came out in a time that there was positive alpha male role model desert out there. You know, they talk about a food desert. It wasn't since the era of like Growing Pains that we had a father figure on TV in a comedic setting that wasn't a buffoon, that wasn't an Al Bundy or a Peter Griffin or a Tim Allen in Home Improvement, not Tim Allen now in Last Man Standing. In fact, that's the gimmick. Is the father's not a complete idiot. Whoa, what a gimmick. That's wacky. Who would have guessed? But Phil Robertson accidentally took that role. It used to be normal for fathers in TV shows to be the voice of reason, to not be some fool that's screwing things up and the wife has to come clean up after him or the kids have to show him what decent people think these days. No, there used to be, dare I say, like a Dr. Huxtable. You know, the Brady Bunch dad wasn't an idiot, but somewhere along the way, all dads were idiots. And then Phil Robertson came along and actually made a dad look like a patriarch, look like he knows what he's doing, look like a fount of wisdom. Someone who you would lean on his experience. You would lean on his calm demeanor. You would lean on his words that have 70 years of wisdom behind them. And so it's a big loss. You know, we know he's not going to last forever. None of us are going to last forever. And in 100 years, no one will ever know he was here. No one will ever know you were here. No one will ever know the James Show existed in 100 years. But in this brief time that we all get to share together with about 7-8 billion other people on Earth, you know, this is the only set of neighbors we get. And Phil Robertson was one of the good ones. And he accidentally broke through because you were expected to hate him. And it turns out the values shine through. You can even be put in front of other people with the intention of being made out to be a buffoon. But the values shone through. And we all knew. We know he's not a buffoon. We know if you live your life the way Phil Robertson recommends, you have a greater shot at happiness, prosperity, success, and a fulfilling family and relationships than whatever's being promised in the blue bubble. Phil Robertson, you will be missed. A couple fun pieces of audio before we get out of here. I saw an Australian comedian's view on America. And man, this kind of made me proud. An Australian on America. Let's hear it.
I love Independence Day because your country broke away from England and got freedom. Australia never did that, right? We're Britain's little that's what we are. You guys, you tipped the tea in the ocean. I think that's what it was. You tipped tea in the ocean and you were like... So England didn't like that. They put their red coats on, which is still the most arrogant military uniform in the history of combat. The least camouflage outfit there was. When Paul Revere was like, the English are coming, everyone was like, no shit, Paul, we can see. From a mile away. Anyway, long story short, no one thought you'd win. You had 16 guns, 4 pitchforks, and Mel Gibson, and you won. And that's why I love this country. Yeah, you stick it to England. We still drink hot tea in Australia. You don't get hot tea anywhere in America. You're done with tea forever. The only time you drink tea is to annoy England. You're like, tea? How do we drink it? Cold, with a pound of sugar in a can that says Arizona. How you like that?
Yeah. All right. Australians, that guy, he needs your support. The other one, here's another viral video I saw. Is Trump a dictator? I don't think so.
There's an argument that the left makes against Donald Trump. And again, just trying to be objective, the argument is that this man's a dictator. Donald Trump's many things, but dictator, I'm like, wow, dictator. I'm a big fan of history. Hitler, dictator. Present day, Kim Jong-un, dictator. The only commonality Donald Trump shares truly with Kim Jong-un and Hitler is that the three of them should sue Supercuts. That's it. By the way, dictators, let me tell you something about dictators, okay? Dictators murder with no consequences. Vladimir Putin murdered his political adversary and ran unopposed. Kim Jong-un murdered his own uncle to prevent a coup d'etat. Donald Trump is no Kim Jong-un. Donald Trump is no Vladimir Putin. In fact, Donald Trump is not even a Clinton.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, that's going to do it for the James Show today. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.